I ran across the Deloitte 2019 Global Millennial Survey this week, and the information it shares is quite interesting. You often hear millennials have problems with commitment and problems with responsibility, but this report helps you understand that it goes much further than that. A lot of our problems can be traced back to the Democratic Party. I'm your host, Jared Dyson, and this is the Closet Conservative Podcast. Deloitte performs the Global Millennial Survey for its business partners each year in an effort to help them understand the workforce and changing conditions. Employers use this information to help them plan for how to obtain, train, and retain staff. Some highlights of the survey were that 13,416 millennials across 42 countries and 3,009 Gen Zers from across 10 countries were surveyed. To give some insight, millennials included in the survey were born between January 1983 and December 1994. The Gen Zers were born from January 1995 through December of 2002. The responses in the survey will certainly show you some of the changes in society and explain a lot of what we are seeing now within the Democratic Party. Of those surveyed, 57% said their ambitions were to travel the world. 52% of millennials were concerned with high salaries and being wealthy. After this, only 49% were interested in owning a home, and 39% were interested in having children or starting families. Overwhelmingly, millennials would rather travel the world than to work, own a home, or to have children and start a family. This is a drastic change from the normal society of years past. The survey continues on, and the number one concern in the world by both millennials and Gen Zers is climate change and protecting the environment. While the underlying theme of that is safety, since terrorism, crime, and war all placed in the top 7 of concerns, the number one concern above all was climate change. Maybe now is a good time to point out that many of these concerns arose as this generation was raised throughout the Clinton administration and into the early years of the Bush administration. During the Clinton administration, climate change began to come into play as protecting the environment was a big focus of the Democratic platform in 2000 during the Al Gore presidential campaign. In the Deloitte survey, the overwhelming majority said that it's government's responsibility to affect social mobility. It's the government's responsibility to make sure that you get a chance to improve, not that hard work or anything else would make a difference. I go back to the Democratic platform from the 90s and the Gore campaign, and you see the theme again. Called out multiple times in the platform is the support for working families and strengthening the unemployment system, raising minimum wage. It's the idea that you deserve it, not necessarily that you worked for it. The survey continues, and the majority of millennials and Gen Zers believe that business should produce high-quality goods and services along with enhancing the livelihood of their employees. The interesting thing is that over 55% of those surveyed believe that businesses actually achieve profit rather than the other things that they think businesses should work for. Does that sound familiar, the current Democratic Party? I mean, we've all heard you deserve better. You deserve more free stuff. You deserve more free handouts. And even when dealing with employers, you deserve $15 an hour minimum wage, not because you worked for it, but because it's your right as an hourly employee. The group surveyed is really unhappy with employers in general. Not only do they believe that businesses are only out to make a profit, they are also dissatisfied with their pay and opportunities for personal advancement. They're also concerned about the lack of development opportunities. 49% of those surveyed said they would change jobs within the next 2 years if the opportunity presented, and approximately 25% they had changed jobs in the last 2 years. What's attractive in working for millennials and Gen Zers? Well, 4 in 5 reported that they were more interested in freelance work than in a standard work environment. Why is that? They were more interested in working the hours they wanted to work and having the work-life balance to do the things they wanted to do. If you have no commitments in your personal life, such as a family or a home, why would you need to commit to work in a normal work schedule or consistent job? One of the themes in the survey was that they were more interested in working for and spending money with companies and organizations that had the same morals and values that they had, and that they contributed to a positive societal impact. Deloitte even calls out that it's important for employers to take a visible and vocal stance in relation to social issues, to assume responsibility and produce a positive societal impact. Millennials believe that government should deliver the things that are wanted. It is the everyone deserves a trophy mentality that we see from millennials. You'll hear a lot of people on the conservative side blame Obama for these ideals, but you actually see they were planted further back in the Democratic platform in the 90s and the 2000s. Exactly when these millennials and Gen Zers were growing up and learning about life. So fast forward to Obama's 2008 platform, when nearly all the millennials were eligible to vote, and look at the platform that the Obama Democratic Party had. Good jobs for everyone, with good pay, affordable quality health care for all Americans, and protecting ourselves and our planet. There was a lot less in the 2008 Democratic platform on families than there had been in the past. The focus was clearly on millennials and their activism and enthusiasm. This continued into the Democratic platform of 2016, where the focus was on raising wages, creating good-paying jobs, and fighting for fairness and removing barriers. The focus was on climate change, universal health care, and safety. If you compare the Democratic platform to that of America's youth, it's almost a word-for-word script. By contrast, let's compare the Republican platforms of 2008 and 2016. In 2008, under John McCain, the campaign focus was defense for our nation, patient-focused healthcare reform, better education, and protecting families. In 2016, the platform behind President Trump focused on restoring the American dream, focusing on constitutional government, improving families, healthcare, and education, and making America stronger than in the past. We often hear the complaints that millennials and Gen Zers have no clue and lack responsibility and commitment. It wasn't that they were simply born that way. Democratic initiatives from the 90s took hold under President Clinton and continued through the Democratic Party in the 2000s. These two generations are convinced that the Democrats provide the best way and opportunity. The American history and what we had in our past and what we strived for in our past is what's forgotten. Somewhere, there was a transition made from striving for the American dream to strive for whatever you believe you deserve. There is nothing wrong for wanting what is best. Hard work, commitment, and responsibility are what is used to get you the American dream. Under the Democrats' plan, you'll just need to wait on the government to give it to you.
This is the Closet Conservative Podcast. All material copyright The Closet Conservative. Music courtesy of Greg Shields Music. Remember to subscribe to our podcast to receive all the latest episodes. We can also be found online at closetconservative.net or on Facebook and Twitter.